Hello, Mick. How's it going? Welcome to the Larpar Show. Thanks for zooming in to Dublin and Ireland. Great to have you on today to share your story about Geyser, the Geyser Fund, and this new crowdfunding project that you're a co-founder of. So let me introduce you to the guests first. So this is Mick
Morucci.
Morucci from the Geyser Fund, which is a Lightning native crowdfunding platform that enables Bitcoin creatives, educators, and builders to realize their projects through reward-based donations and grants through Bitcoin. They have over 200 projects currently on the platform, and it's growing daily. And they have projects from Tanzania, Africa, Asia, all different countries all over the world, and it's really, really amazing. Uh, and
Amazing.
he's going to tell a story. So, Mick, you have the floor. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Geyser, and share your story with us.
Amazing. Lawrence, thank you so much. It's an honor to be interviewed. So thank you. Yeah, as you said, I'm Mick. I also go by Meta Mick, and I'm building, co-founding Geyser Fund, which is, like you said, a Lightning native crowdfunding platform. That basically means that you can fund on Lightning. You can also fund on chain, but it is really much about, we really much believe that Lightning is going to be what brings Bitcoin to the world, because it's a lot more usable, a lot more reliable. Although there's still improvements to be made, but it's incredibly fast, incredibly cheap, and we're dealing with real Bitcoin, right? There's no with Lightning. We're not talking about a centralized platform. It's still Bitcoin that you own. So yeah, so basically we started Geyser around a year and a half ago, and the idea came up because we realized how much activity was happening in Bitcoin. I was scrolling through Twitter, and I was seeing how many ideas were coming up, how many artists were emerging, how many content creators were starting to create content. I noticed filmmakers, visual artists, street artists, but I also noticed open source developers that were building things, communities that were arising, and basically when that happened, a lot of people were saying, "Hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think?" And then it would be like, "Oh yeah, I love that. I'd love to pay for that, or I'd love to support that. Just share with me your QR code." And so we noticed crowdfunding happening in real time on Twitter, and and with that we thought, okay, but this is pretty clunky. Like, what happens after 1 week? That tweet will have disappeared under somewhere in the feed. There's no also you can't really send money to people. You can only send likes, which is just this as we call it a bit like a shitcoin, really. They're just this abstract thing that doesn't mean anything. It's really just a proxy for value, but you're not actually sharing value, you're just sharing this abstract thing. And so basically we thought, okay, what we really need here is a platform that is Bitcoin and Lightning native, that enables people to send money, just pure donations, but also allows them to send money in return for something else. So that's what we call reward-based crowdfunding, which is a bit like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And then on top of that, also have this grant system where we basically are able to connect with some anonymous Bitcoiners that want to support, say, a specific mission, a specific kind of thing like Bitcoin culture or art or Bitcoin education. And then we, in different ways, we evaluate these projects and we provide funds. We only do this every few months, but it's just another really good way of creating activity, of rewarding projects that are doing great work for Bitcoin, but also recognize them. So there's a lot of work that has been done in an open source way, meaning people are just producing content for free, and sometimes just recognizing the fact that they've done all this work is a key part of the process. And so we recognize them, we reward them with Satoshis, with Bitcoin, and so we get the ball rolling on more creators joining the platform. So right now we have 400 projects on Geyser. I think the majority is around Bitcoin education related stuff, but also we have kind of artists, creatives, creating Bitcoin art work of sorts, and then we also have communities and also like open source developers, everything. And then sometimes we just get these sort of random projects that have immediate success. What this really is, it's really about the community coming together to support valuable ideas. And it's about the community helping to turn ideas into the real world. So for example, we had another one really big project come up this week. And it was about orange pilling politicians. So let's just about, well, how about we just send a copy of the Bitcoin standard to every single congressman in the United States? And this project took off. They reached, I think, around almost $4,000 in just a week. And it's not much work. It's just about buying a lot of books and then distributing them. But it's something small that the community think is important, that may have an impact, right? And maybe a lot of people will not read it, but it's worth a shot, right? So it's a community coming together to support Bitcoin related stuff. And so the interesting thing that happened in the States, and then someone's doing that in Belgium now. So he's also reached like $2,000 worth of books. He's gotten around, I think, almost 100 books. So that's crazy. And then a guy in Nigeria is now doing the same in Nigeria. So we're hoping to see that kind of roll forward into more countries. Maybe in Ireland, someone wants to take on the same challenge. That'll be fun. But yeah, the spirit is kind of good ideas, people that want to get help from the community to make those ideas happen. And the cool thing is that the Bitcoin community is global. We can send money effortlessly, basically for free. And so the Bitcoin community can globally help kind of inspire action that is also local. So it's like, think globally, act locally in the Bitcoin world.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's just something I picked up there. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
That project that you mentioned there, it started off as like a small little idea, a little ripple. I think that could cause a wave. And that's what it's starting, it's nearly getting there, isn't it? You know?
Exactly.
And with the Bitcoin support, the Bitcoin plebs support, and the Bitcoin army, a lot of people don't realize we've got like an army of nearly 300 million people.
Yeah,
it's probably the biggest army in the world. It would be, you know what I mean? And it's grown to be one of the biggest organizations, really, whereas there's no main leader or anything like that, but we all feel that this is the way to go, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? And to help each other, help other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's, a lot of the projects are, and also I probably want to say also that a lot of the projects that have to do with Geyser, it's really a lot about people that often have like normal jobs, fiat jobs, but are Bitcoiners and believe that Bitcoin is a good thing for the world, and then they recognize that, and then they also have these skills, right, that they've worked on all their lives, whether they are football players or they're like musicians, and then so they have the skill, they have Bitcoin as a passion, and they're like, okay, what can I do with my passions to help provide value to the world of Bitcoin? And a lot of projects have to do with this. And it's really, I think, a symptom of this new Bitcoin economy emerging. I think we're just at the beginning of something, but we're starting to see this glimpse of people, just like in the past, and I think you guys in Ireland know, like I do in Italy, that a lot of people migrated from our countries to go and work in the United States or in Canada, and then maybe at the end of their lives they'd come back home. The type of, send back remittances, like economic migration. I think we're going to start seeing that in Bitcoin. As in, you don't have to travel geographically, you can travel into cyberspace, provide value to the network, create value for value, work. And then you don't have to move physically. You come back though into the real world, where the money of the internet, Bitcoin, is this sort of new, it's this new thing that you want for your own well-being and the well-being of your family. So I think Geyser is the first, maybe one of the first iterations of that. We see that with other value for value platforms out there, but I do think we'll see this emergence of the Bitcoin related economy, which is about providing value, not just working, but actually providing value to the network. And again, the cool thing about Geyser is that it's not just developers, like it's not just people that are technically savvy that get to add value and get support from the community. It's anyone, right? It's actually the biggest contributor, the biggest project on Geyser so far has reached almost 1 Bitcoin. And he's the guy from Bitcoin trading cards that has basically created these like almost like Pokemon like cards that have to do with Bitcoin related content. These are Bitcoin cards. I wish I had them with me right now, but I don't. Yeah, he's just a designer, and he's like, it would be really cool to have these collectible cards that have to do with Bitcoin. And he did it, and he, did really, really well. And so he started on Geyser, and he's still selling on Geyser. We also have, again, the Orange Pill app, sending.
Why don't you share the screen? Share your screen and show the
Let's do it.
viewers.
Let's do it.
It's nice to break it up a little bit.
Let's do it.
That's it.
All right, so this is Geyser here. Can you see it?
Yeah, you can see it there, yeah.
Cool. So this is the landing page. So this view, geyser.fund, you'll see that. And then if you see here, you have, the featured projects, you see recent projects that have been created, and you'll see all sorts of projects really being created from time to time. And then this is the key kind of pillar categories that we see. So Bitcoin education, and this is where we showcase what were the most successful projects this week within the realm of Bitcoin education. And we see here that you had this Bitcoin Block Munich. These guys are doing some, basically creating this shopping mall experience about Bitcoin, and are selling this really, really cool plushies, which help them basically fund their shopping mall experience. This is the Munich. Then you have Human Bee, which is a film. Satoshi's Library, they do translations of Bitcoin content into Spanish, and they also use rewards and so if you want to purchase one, you just have to click this, and then you can add in basically mastering Bitcoin. This is 967 sats, 1,000 sats, so $70. You fund the project. To get a reward, you have to add your email. So let me put in my email here. And then it's pretty straightforward. You just get a QR code to pay with Lightning or on chain. So this is a QR code that works for Lightning or on chain. You can pay with whatever you want. And what else here? We've got we've got projects that are related to Bitcoin culture. Again, films, plushies. Bitcoiners love to buy plushies. So this one here is from Yellow, which is the guy from the meme factory, and they sold a lot. They sold 22 of these plushies, which are like these like cute little furry things.
Like a teddy bear or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, like exactly like a teddy bear, but of this character called Yellow. And he's just incredible. Like $100 each, and part of it is really just about supporting these creators, but by getting something back, like some little token of appreciation, right? So that's pretty cool. And then we have people doing these types of activities. I don't know if you've seen this guy from Frankfurt are essentially basically they have this massive light beam that shoots Bitcoin logo all over the place, and they're shooting.
Is this the one that was put on the European Union? They had a ECB or something like that.
Yeah, this was yesterday, right? So that's why he's received a lot of donations recently. So look, 100 contributions. 1 minute ago, someone gave 10,000 sats. 3 hours ago, 1,000. Someone donated 500,000 satoshis 16 hours ago. Time for Bitcoin to visit these. So this is the value for value movement. This is people doing cool things, cool and important things, and we as Bitcoiners recognize the importance of that, and so we want to support. We're basically, by sending in sats, we're saying we like this, we want more of this. Right, and these are just guys that have a really good idea and get the community behind them. So it's really a type of almost like a DAO, like a decentralized organization here, where we're just giving sats to people that are doing awesome shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we have these, weekly leaderboard. We have Orange Pill app. This is the project I was mentioning. That is Orange Pill in Congress. They got 11 million sats now. The last one was an hour ago.
That's a 53,000 sats. Somebody sent them 40,000 sats.
Yeah, so I think the biggest one was $1,000, which was around. See if I can find it. I think it was 500,000. I think it was 500,000 sats.
Yeah, I seen that going around actually on Twitter. I did. It felt like that they're pushing out really. And
3 million sats. 3 million sats saying bury them in truth.
Bury them in truth.
How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? So yeah, and then you also have a leaderboard, so you can see who are the biggest funders. Most people fund anonymously, so you can't really see who they are. Some log in with Lightning. Some new people log in with Nostr, so you can kind of bring your kind of profile, Nostr profile in here. Yeah, you've got all sorts of things. You've got Paco doing educational work all over the world. You've got this kind of metaverse of Bitcoiners funded 8 hours ago. And again, they have all these entries. Entries are these like articles where they explain more about the project. Yeah, and
a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, a huge array of different types of projects, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the likes of these things as well, like, and a platform like yours to help them to get it out there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's going to support them, and it helps people to go to like one point of contact, or one portal, and have a look at different projects that they'd like, and they feel that they want to support as well. So it's really, really great work.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also like look, okay, I'm really interested in projects in Ireland. Let's see if there's any project. Actually, there may not be any project in Ireland. Oh, there's one.
Okay, Bitcoin Treasure Hunt. All right, okay.
So
yeah, I know them guys actually, yeah, from Dublin Bitcoiners, yeah.
Right, so that's cool, right? And you can see, okay, what other projects are there in Europe, right? You can click what are projects in Europe, and you can see it's quite a lot happening. Like, yeah, keep.
I've seen the guys there, Bridge to Bitcoin. Is it Bridge to
Yeah.
Bitcoin? Yeah, I've seen them as well. They're I know them. They're coming on for a chat as well.
Amazing. Yeah, they're doing great work. Let's see here. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mick, how did you get into the whole Bitcoin space, and tell us your story a little bit, yeah?
So happy to close here. So basically, yeah, I got into Bitcoin. Well, I got into Bitcoin, I guess, in 2016, 2017. And I was just I guess I was really bored at work, actually. I was really bored at work. I was doing something I wasn't enjoying. To be honest, I had done everything that I had to do. I went to university, I did my master's, and tried to follow the path that had been sort of carved out by the system, and just became very unfulfilled. Though, like it wasn't really what I expected. I felt really quite depressed, to be frank, and I didn't see much of a future for me. Because I was working as sort of humanitarian sector, kind of development humanitarian. I hated the prospect of having to be tossed from country to country, like at the will of someone, and then being paid peanuts, and not being able to have a decent sort of, and also not seeing like impact in the work I was doing. Working hard and then seeing no impact, and I think I came across Bitcoin and this concept of like, money and how money was important. I had studied economics and anthropology in my university. And to me, it was striking to see how this group of digital communities, had this understanding of money that was quite sophisticated, more than, what I had ever learned at school. Bitcoin, like money was never really a topic of conversation in economics. Like, why don't we learn what is money? Why is money all of a sudden thought about this this was before the Bitcoin standard came out. This was before so much of the great content came out. So a lot of my understanding evolved through time. But I was definitely stricken by the fact that this thing that was created still was alive, because I had heard about Bitcoin in 2010 and completely dismissed it, but it was still around. It was resilient to attack. It was decentralized. It was the money in some way of the people, because nobody could control it, nobody could abuse it. And also, I think because I was seeing all this money from the inside of this humanitarian world being channeled, it really struck. On one hand, I was still thinking, okay, but it's good to give money to these poor countries, because it's good, it's humanitarian, right? But then it's like, then you're bailing out these with billions, trillions and trillions of dollars, these banks, and you're giving peanuts, right, to these other countries, and they're suffering from crazy inflation. And what you were really doing is really employing, Western elite educated people to do this work, and so the majority of the fund actually go just to employing people like myself. So it's like, what kind of a system are we living in? And I was just increasingly really taking this orange pill and seeing how things are a little bit strange, and so I was definitely allured by that message, allured by the memes, and I increasingly kind of thought and understood that really money is this foundational technology to civilization, and somehow the money itself was corrupted, and as a result was corrupting everything else on top of it. So I began just learning how to code as well, learning more about the technical thing, just to take in, the trust verify at heart, and digging deep, and I kept on seeing just a very, very strong, really, really new revolutionary tool that could potentially displace the power of states, really. I eventually did go down the blockchain kind of crypto shit show as well, and I came out of it mostly unscathed. Obviously, a lot of bad. You really funneled in this idea, because to buy Bitcoin you go to an exchange, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to an exchange and you have all these different cryptos, and you're like, oh wow.
That's where all the confusion starts then, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why all these new Bitcoin exchanges are so important, because you could just go there and you just buy Bitcoin. You don't buy. You're not in a casino. Like these exchanges full of coins are literally casinos. Yeah. I was lucky enough to sort of make it out alive, from the casino, realizing, okay, this is not going anywhere. Bitcoin is a revolution here. You need maximum decentralization and also this idea that decentralization is not a gradient, it's a binary. Like you either are decentralized or you're not. Because if you're not truly decentralized, then you will be captured by corporations, by states, by special interests. So for me, that was pivotal, and I've been a Bitcoiner since, dabbling with other cryptos, but then I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just going to go full Bitcoin. This is what's going to last. So actually for a year I was working for an Ethereum company, because it was like a startup. So I was really curious to try that, and I was trying to be open-minded as well. Still seeing Bitcoin as money and Ethereum as a sort of tool kind of that does all this smart contract stuff. But really, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what do I want to tell my grandkids when I'm old? That I helped to develop this thing that doesn't exist anymore, or that actually I help to push Bitcoin adoption further, help kind of build tools on Bitcoin. And I'd say I think it's just a slow process. It's a fairly new monster we're dealing with here that not many people understand. And so it requires a lot of painful learning. And I think even at the moment, most investors are crypto investors. Like you go to these investment pitching competitions, and it's like 80 to 90% are crypto. They don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand what we're dealing with.
They don't.
No.
Yeah, and that's what I'm finding as well. I go to a number of events, and I'm talking to people, and there's developers, there's smart people there, but they're just trying to overcomplicate Bitcoin. You know, they're trying to say it's not this and it's not that and whatever. It's too slow, you know, and they overcomplicate it themselves because whereas there is a lot to learn about it, but if you just look at the basics of Bitcoin, you know what I mean? The
Yeah, I was
simple thing
even told
as the store
by,
of value part of it, you know, to try and protect your property or your wealth, you know, in something that you
yeah,
own yourself that cannot be seized from you, you know,
yeah,
and
it's,
that's
yeah.
one of the main things of it as well. Like, you know, it's something that you can own. You can take to the grave with you if you want. You can carry it on. You can pass it on for 100 years or more. You know, so people just
Absolutely.
kind of overcomplicate it.
Yeah. I remember being told by an investor when I started Geyser, why not use Solana? It's like a lot faster. So it's really it's incredible. It's like it doesn't make sense. Like even like Lightning is something that they just there's a sort of like gap in their understanding. Somehow it's just it's a sort of um a bandwagon effect where if you're in the kind of in the Ethereum community, you just don't know about Lightning. You don't want to look at it because it's the entire idea of Lightning, the fact that you're building on top of Bitcoin layers.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
uh,
explain that a little bit, okay, for our viewers, right? How Bitcoin and then what's the different layers that are coming on top.
yeah, so right, so it's really all about how do you build a new economy, a new system from scratch, right? And that's what Bitcoin did, right? Instead of saying, okay, we're gonna try to change the system from within, it's like, no, we're just gonna build this, we're gonna use this kitty corner here and just start from scratch. And so
Mm-hmm.
how do you build a solid foundation from the very bottom up? Well, the first thing you need to do is build this incorruptible digital scarcity, this the incorrupt digital network, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what the Bitcoin on-chain system is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's at the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's a Bitcoin blockchain plus this novel system of proof of work plus the cryptographic elements of it. So what you're really talking about here is the blockchain being this essentially this historical time chain in which every 10 minutes you have a registration of all the transactions that have taken place.
Mm-hmm.
And think about this as an Excel spreadsheet, right? Where you have this, like every 10 minutes, you have this new Excel spreadsheet that explains all the different balances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that, you then have a then the question is, how do you secure this? Like, how do you ensure that you have all these spreadsheet that we all share? How can we ensure that we all own the same Excel spreadsheet? Well, that's where you have in. That's where the decentralization is important. This is where it's so important. And actually, there's more than tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of Bitcoin nodes that are
Mm-hmm.
securing the ledger, that are securing this Excel spreadsheet. It's probably after the Bible the most replicated digital document that exists, right?
Okay.
The Bitcoin blockchain. That makes it incredibly secure. The fact that like tens or hundreds of thousands of people are storing this document is crucial. And then you have the proof of work, which is the energy consumption. That's really what secures everything. That's what keeps basically verifies transactions, but really keeps the network secure from attack. So proof of work is what makes it costly for anyone to attack the Excel spreadsheet, right? And if they really wanted to attack, one individual one, it wouldn't make any difference because they'd have to attack all of them at once.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, just like the army is what secures a country from external invasion,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Bitcoin mining and the energy that is used is what secures all external people from attacking this Excel spreadsheet that secures the network, that basically verifies the network. So really, the main function of the Bitcoin on chain is security. There's no compromises. Security and resilience and censorship resistance. These are all the key foundational properties of the layer 1. So because of this, there's trade-offs. Because you have all the security, you don't have the speed. All right. So that's why you have Solana and all these other blockchains saying, oh, but we're better than Bitcoin because Bitcoin is slow. Well, Solana decided to have a blockchain at the layer 1 that is incredibly a lot more fast. But when you decide to go with speed at layer 1, what you end up with is a lot more transactions, right? So you don't have a block every, say, second instead of every 10 minutes like Bitcoin. So what happens when you do that? Well, yeah, you have a lot more transactions, but you have this gigantic database of transactions. So I can hold the entire history of Bitcoin blockchain in my phone. Probably it's like now like around 600 gigabytes, I think. The Solana or the Ethereum chains have terabytes, thousands and thousands of terabytes of data storage, and it basically becomes impossible to verify what the truth is. Because you're relying increasingly on these centralized actors that keep the ledger. So the beauty of Bitcoin is because it's actually really stupid. Like, it's very simple. It's the fact that let's keep this really dumb, really simple, really light, but that so that anyone can keep track of the history, and so that there's multiple people that, so we essentially bring in trust by removing trust, because we don't trust anyone. Now anyone can be part of that trust tracking by running their own nodes. I urge anyone to try it, and there's these incredible tools out there now that allow you to run a node without any technical knowledge whatsoever. So I'm not a developer, although I do a bit of developing, but I'm not really like a software engineer. So there's Umbrel, for example, that you can download. They help you buy a Raspberry Pi, and for just $100 you can run your own node at home. Like it's incredibly powerful, and I urge anyone to give it a try, because it really helps you understand like why Bitcoin, why this is so important, why this is so revolutionary.
And what was that called again? Umbrel, was it? Yeah,
so Umbrel, Umbrel, Umbrel. And it's a great service. And I think it's even free, and you can have all these apps inside your node as well. Yeah, incredibly powerful. So basically, the layer 1 of Bitcoin is just about security. It's about resilience. It's about there's no compromises, right? And then but thanks to this sort of solid network, then we can build on top of Bitcoin. And so this is how you have these it's called these layer 2s, like Lightning. Lightning is a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin that allows you to essentially transact seamlessly, super fast, with no fees, basically, on top of there. And again, there's trade-offs. So what you earn in fast and speed, you will probably lose a little bit in terms of censorship resistance and security. So all the properties of security of Bitcoin are transferred over to the Lightning network. But if you want to really hold your funds and securely, it's probably best to hold them on chain. So people say your long-term like cold storage stack, hold it on chain. But if you want to spend, if you want to do other types of transaction, you can use Lightning for that.
So you download one of the apps like Moon or Satoshi, wallet of Satoshi or something like that, and you just transfer a couple of hundred.
If you want to buy things, that's right. Exactly. And so how does Lightning work? It works with a smart contract, basically, that allows you. It's incredibly smart. So it's not like a smart contract like Ethereum. It's a lot more simple than that. It does this one thing only, which is you create a channel in which it's actually a multi-sig channel. That say that I want to put, say, 1 Bitcoin on Lightning. What I do is I create a Lightning channel with you. And that means we're actually creating a multi-sig where 1 Bitcoin is locked within the channel. And so 1 Bitcoin can flow freely between you and me, right? Mm-hmm. And so because I am connected to Bob, and Bob is connected to Alice, Alice can actually send money to you, Lawrence, because we're all connected to each other. So
Okay.
so that's the it's a simple thing. It's basically like a mycelial network. It's this it's all made of these individual connections. So because we are connected, anyone else can use the funds in to send transactions again from Alice to yourself. They don't basically it's a bit like the is it called the abacus, the sort of the thing where you move the
Oh yeah, the things, yeah,
the
the
things.
thing, yeah.
It's a bit like that. You sort of move the things, you know, and whenever you want to close a channel, you can always close the channel easily. And yeah, it's very, very simple but very, very powerful thing. And then on top of Lightning, you have these layer threes being created, like essentially or alternative layer twos like RGB, and I can think of it, you know, like you have Taro, which is this, you know, essentially issuing tokens on Lightning, and on Bitcoin. So there's all sorts of interesting and innovative things you can do on top of Bitcoin. And say if one of these layer twos fails, that doesn't affect Bitcoin whatsoever. Like Bitcoin remains a sort of solid ground that you can trust and rely on, that will keep going for centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to keep it simple, maybe Lightning, we could just say, or like Bitcoin would be like, say, the internet. Okay. And then on top of the internet, there was different like companies or apps or stuff like that were built on top of it, like Google, all these other types of things. Yeah, that they'd be the layer twos, wouldn't they, of the internet, kind of.
Yeah, I would say that Lightning is still like they make the comparison between TCP IP, right? So TCP is the uh, packet transfer protocol, and then IP is a sort of protocol on top of that, that makes it a lot more usable. So Bitcoin is to TCP as Lightning is IP, and then on top of TCP IP, you have Amazon, you have Google, you have, right? So these are two different protocols. Bitcoin is a monetary protocol. Lightning is the communication protocol on top of Bitcoin, and then you have applications on top of Lightning. Mostly, I'd bet that most applications will sit on top of Lightning rather than Bitcoin directly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's sort of where we are now, and that's what I saw with Geyser. You know, there was I noticed that Lightning was working, and like exactly as you said, there were no Googles, there were no Apples, there were no tools to use the Lightning Network. So I thought, okay, we need to build the application layer of Bitcoin and Lightning, because it took a long time to create, took a long time to build, and then now we're really at the stage where we need to actually take what it can enable and bring it in the form of actual tools and experiences, right? So that's why Geyser, I think, is, you know, very powerful, simple, very simple idea as well. Like it's donations and reward-based crowdfunding, and making this and leveraging all the properties that Bitcoin and Lightning have, like borderlessness, censorship resistance, you know, interoperability. There's all these new additional properties that we're able to leverage because of Lightning. So, you know, for example, you can send funds from Africa to the United States. Like there's no like geographic limitation like there is in traditional crowdfunding, where if you're in Africa, you cannot, or in South America or in Asia, you cannot create a project, right? You can also fund from Twitter. You can fund from Damus. You can fund, you don't have to come to Geyser to fund. You can use a Lightning address to fund a project. So again, that's not something that's possible with traditional crowdfunding, right? You can also take full custody of your funds. We don't custody funds, right? So the funds go straight to your Lightning wallet. We cannot freeze funds.
Yeah. Like what we've seen with all these, you mentioned the word freeze. We've seen that, especially with people's everything, boats, yachts, helicopters, whatever, houses,
right.
bank accounts, you know.
Yeah, what happened last year with the trucker protests, right?
Yeah, in Canada, massive. What's happening as well with all what's going on with Ukraine and the Russians and all that, you know, just because you're from a country originally and then all of a sudden a couple of countries decide to go after the people that don't even live in those countries for years, and then it just frees everything, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your trips that you've been having. You've been going around on different trips, going into different countries. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was in Poland last week for the Bitcoin Film Fest, which is the first ever Bitcoin film-related Bitcoin conference. And it was pretty exciting to see just how much is happening, how much is being built, how much is being created. And I'm particularly bullish on films because they really bring the point home really easy, like really, really directly. So, Bitcoin is not something they need to read up on Twitter or through memes or through the white paper. Like, we can explain Bitcoin and explain money in a way that is much more relatable through a 1 hour, 15-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I'm seeing this, I'm seeing a lot of creatives sort of jump in and provide value through culture.
Mm-hmm.
And really, really, really excites me, right? Like, makes Bitcoin a tool for really anyone. And again, we've seen Bitcoin being, obviously very important. The developers were developing really like doing insane amount of work on Bitcoins basically layer one and the technical side of things. But now we're at the point that we need to start orange pilling the world. Like, people need to understand about Bitcoin. Like, we can't wait any longer. Bitcoin works. It's a solid foundation. It's a Noah's Ark in these times of crisis. So we just need to make it more easily accessible, make it relatable. Bitcoin is not for criminals. Bitcoin is not for, Bitcoin is for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Bitcoin doesn't distinguish between a criminal or not. It doesn't know what a criminal is. Bitcoin is just neutral. It's the Andreas Antonopoulos often talk about the importance of Bitcoin neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is neutral. It doesn't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't distinguish between good or bad. And if you think about it, there are godlike qualities to that, because God himself, obviously, God knows what is good or bad, but it doesn't impose it on us. Like, it's still up to us to decide what is good or what is bad and what we should do with our lives. And Bitcoin is the same. You can do what you will with your life, and maybe you'll do the bad things and wrong things, and maybe you'll end up in jail for it. But it's not up to the protocol to determine whether it's good or bad. Like, it's not like you're walking down the street and then you have, you want to buy, something that is illicit, and just because of the protocol of the world around us, you cannot give the money to the person because there's a glitch in the protocol of giving money physically. No, like, the protocol of reality is neutral to anyone. And then that's what we need in the digital world. And Bitcoin is that solid ground layer zero protocol of digital reality that we can interact on. And obviously there are consequences, but the network itself doesn't give a shit. And that's really, really important.
Yeah. And something that you just brought up there, what you were talking about there, what people don't realize as well, what's coming, with these CBDCs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
When this whole thing kicks in, and I think myself, it is going to kick in sooner than later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bitcoin has been released in July in America.
Yeah.
The ECB, the head of the ECB, they're all talking about it now that they have to introduce a digital euro. So a lot of people think maybe it's 5 or 10 years down the line, but I think 18 to 24 months, it's going to be implemented fully. That's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know the details, but I did hear from other people that are more informed than I am that it should be out, the digital euro, in like 2024, 2025 maybe.
Yeah, well, I think the Bank of International Settlements last month wrote something saying that by 1st of January 2025, every central bank will have their own fully working CBDC. So that means they're going to launch it in 2023. You know what I mean? But sure, Fedcoin has been launched in July anyway. The Fedcoin has been launched in July.
Yeah.
So that's the start of it. And
Right.
they've been working on it for years. So
Do you think the Fed now is like a CBDC? I haven't read up on that much.
yeah, well, it is. They're selling it as a new payment solution,
Mhm,
which are just going to suck people into it, And then if the
mhm.
banks go down and people are caught with their money in the banks, I think that'd be a way for them to switch the money. Whoever, if you want your value back, you just download this wallet and we're going to put it into your wallet, and there you go. They have people then.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
and my personal opinion is that I think that's when people will understand that that Bitcoin is money, and that the Fed now and the CBDCs are not money. They will realize that when their money starts to expire,
yeah,
when they cannot send money across borders, they realize that when their amount of meat they can purchase comes to a
yeah,
limit, right? Like
true.
the programmability of it is,
Yeah,
I think, the killer app of Bitcoin, because I mean the only challenge there, the problem is that I don't know if you're gonna be able to buy Bitcoin with Fed now, and
yeah. I don't think you
probably
will.
not.
You won't be able to. Just
No,
programmable, they can do whatever they want. So
yeah,
why would they allow people to get out of the new CBD system? They won't.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're gonna incentivize people. Take another booster. We'll give you another $100
yeah,
CBDCs, and
yeah. All that. Madness,
yeah, it's a
madness.
scary world, man. It's really scary, but it's in my mind it's inevitable, and that's why we need education to build this alternative. Keep building, keep, and by building I mean technically, but also socially. I mean, keep explaining to people why this is important, um, and and in the right smart way as well. I don't mean to say that you need to go out and annoy people, but you need to to be there as a resource if needed, and produce content, uh, and help people understand where we're heading. And I do think, and it's important because the way that the system always wins, like the way that the government has always been able to get away with these things. Like if you think about the rupture from the gold standard in 1971, Nixon said this is a temporary operation, right? And then we're still living in a fiat standard since then. Oh, the 9/11 attacks, leading to a temporary war, right? And then we have the CBDCs will be probably like a temporary measure, and it will sound, just it may, oh, it's just a little bit more freedom, that they're taking away. But they keep on slowly chipping away freedom that we have, and because it's so slow and gradual, people get used to it. Oh,
Yeah,
it's just 2 weeks, right? It's just two
yeah,
weeks of lockdown, right?
yeah,
And then sooner or later you're completely screwed. Like they've
yeah,
taken away everything you've had, and by the way, they're all the savings are eroded. They're worthless now because they can just keep printing trillions of dollars, or euros or pounds. So what's really important is that we when these triggers happen, with these freedoms are taken away, that we make people aware. These are all potential points in which a good 10 to 20% of people will be like, okay, no, this is too much for me. And this is what I've seen with a lot of friends of mine losing a lot of money from the lockdowns. They were like, okay, this is too much for me. And at every point that they chop out more, there will be a percentage that will not be okay with it. And so these are opportunities for awakening people from the craziness of it all. So yeah, hopefully, we are enough that we're able to become the government, and provide create a system that is fair, that is more neutral, that is more that is really fair. I think is the best way of putting it. Fair because the rules apply to everyone. There's no constantly changing rules, and we can just start looking in the long term, not constantly being projected into short-termistic solutions that never work.
yeah. No, definitely, yeah. So, I mean, just going back to something that popped into my mind, years ago, how they introduced the taxes into the world. I think it was done through the Napoleon time, and
Mm-hmm.
he found a way of taxing the people of the country, and sure, other governments in other countries just copied it, and it was supposed to be a temporary thing, But look at us hundreds of years later, we still have it, you know?
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. So going forward then for yourselves, what's the plan with yourselves and moving forward and helping to educate more people? What's the plan for yourselves and Geyser, and any more trips on the horizon for yourself?
Yeah, so our plan is to just keep building out Geyser and make this into the easiest to use platform for helping you turn your ideas into reality, through the support of your community. So yeah, really trying to understand the next few months, probably be trying to understand better where are the pain points, where can we improve it, where can we improve things, how do we onboard more people, and yeah, I think we have some plans to build out more features, improving the usability, but a lot of the effort will also be just geared around helping to create great projects that also help Bitcoin adoption. So we're going to try to be more proactive in helping these ideas get created. In terms of trips, I think I'll be going to Miami, and I don't know about Bitcoin Prague. Let's to see about that. So, and then I think I'm looking forward to go to the Bitcoin Beach retreat in Wales, which is a like a camping ground where a lot of plebs meet up in the summer in July. And yeah, I recommend people to go. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I heard there's something on in the Isle of Man as well. I was thinking about going over in August. There's an event in the Isle of Man because I'm going away in July for a few weeks.
Nice.
But the Isle of Man, there's supposed to be something good on there as well. I think it's 10 to 12, something like that.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, okay. And if people want to get in touch with you, Mick, how do they get in touch with you? Your Twitter handle?
Yeah, you can reach me at MetaMick14 on Twitter or Telegram, or also at Geyser.fund. Sorry, at Geyser Fund on Twitter as well. And yeah, just go to Geyser.fund. You can find all the links there. And yeah, DMs are open if you have any questions or ideas. Happy to help out.
Perfect. Okay, so thanks for joining us. Yeah, and we will talk again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Pleasure.
Perfect.
Thank you.